Hello and welcome back for today's short video. It will be a continuation of the last video in EMSA and Marina's response to their audit. Okay, we shall start off by continuing with the shortcoming number 5, and this time it will be with the examination and assessment. Okay, so come with me. Let's begin. So to begin with, we go to shortcoming number 5 under the examination and assessment of competencies. So basically assessment centers, the examination and assessment division of the Marina STCW office. And with that, the EMSA auditors determined that there were 3 grievances that needed attention. Okay, so let's go first to grievance 11, which was the lack of use of laboratory equipment in practical examination. Looking at their findings, yes, there are indeed some assessment centers and even some schools that had the equipment, but it wasn't working. Some had the equipment but only used it during assessment, and the assessment being done was incomplete. So while they had the equipment, the delivery was found to be wanting. Then you have grievance 12, which was inconsistent theoretical and practical assessments of competence. Here you had some issues on uniformity of the practical assessment. Some they do it the full mission, some they do it the full hours length, some they just do a portion of a situation, a simulation. Some just only have theoretical, and they let the students or the participants be familiar with the simulator, and that's that. It doesn't jive with the requirements in the tables of the STCW code. And the 13th grievance was inconsistencies in practical assessment conducted by those assessment centers that were approved by Marina. So there you have it. A spot check found that assessment centers were not all the same in their practical assessments. I would not belabor it now because there were a lot of striking differences, but then it came out in this audit, and it fell under the shortcomings of examination and assessment. Okay, so now let's go to shortcoming number 6, which was the availability and use of training facilities and simulators. Okay, uh, if you read the shortcoming of number 6, it tells you the general observation done by the auditors, and they went down to the specifics in grievance 14 and 15, and this included the higher education's institutions and assessment centers. They did not fully ensure the availability of appropriate and maintained facilities and simulators suitable for training and assessment. One specific finding was there was an assessment center who were using outdated equipment. The other one was just giving two scenarios wherein there's supposed to be a minimum number of about 6 that can be chosen from, and they kept on using it and using it. Okay, uh, grievance number 15: design, testing, approval, and practice of simulator exercises were not conducted as required. So this is a toss between both the accreditation group of Marina and the assessment centers. You need to have these two together in order to come up with an approved course package in the design and approval, including testing. That's why they call there's a test pilot program. And this is what EMSA found out, that it was not being conducted as required, because that's a requirement in the STCW Code. So here we are now at shortcoming number 7, which is onboard training, and by so far, this has the most number of grievances. Okay, and this has to do a lot with the monitoring and content of the TRBs of all cadet students who are on board ship. Okay, and it struck me very particular about one of the grievances wherein this was next to impossible. Even the EMSA auditor said that, and I quote, "You cannot have these scenarios in 2 days." So let's see the grievances starting from 16. Inconsistencies in the information documented in the TRB. So there's a lot of things inside the TRB that are lacking in information, and some are very inconsistent. I could say that for both the deck TRB and the engine TRB. Okay. Grievance 17, also the TRB, it does not allow for full verification that the students receive systematic practical training and experience in the task, duties, and responsibilities of an officer at operational level. So I think the shipboard training officer of the school where the student came from should consider checking again. How do they verify the completeness of the TRB with regards to pre-qualification for a degree and for to sit the exam for operational level? Then let's go on to grievance 18. In it, the higher education, those schools issuing the TRB, do not define the specific training tasks or duties required to be undertaken by the students as part of the approved program for onboard training. That means to say that despite the fact that you have completed your 3 years, if you are front-ended, 3 plus 1, uh, the school is supposed to be monitoring and giving you the correct program for your onboard training. It's not as if the school is supposed to release you and okay, you just find a ship and then board there and use the TRB. No, it doesn't work that way. So moving on to grievance 19, this is quite strange because you're supposed to keep records. The MHEIs, or the higher education institutes, do not keep records to ensure verification of the completion of the compulsory watchkeeping duties by the students. So how the hell did they get the students get clearance to obtain their degree if it is front-ended? They have to pass through the shipboard training office and the shipboard training officer in order for them to be able to qualify for a degree. And as far as I know, the TRB, if completed, will be one of the steps to being approved for conferment of the bachelor's degree. In the 211 system, it's quite different. So we have two schools of delivery. You have the front-ended and you have the 211. Well, they all have their advantages and disadvantages, and that's for another video to be discussed. Going on to grievance 20, no procedures are applied for those students who completed the onboard training 6 years or more after having completed their theoretical status. Meaning, it took me 6 years to complete the entire process in order for me to gain qualifications for a degree and be able to sit the exam. Uh, there are a lot of students like that who waited so long to get on board ship. Okay, and since they're on board ship, they decided to extend it 1 2 years. Okay, for their personal reasons. Okay, but there are no procedures once they come back to their school so that they can get their application to be awarded a bachelor's degree and qualify to sit in the examination. That is what EMSA found out, that they can be gone for so long, and when they come back, a lot of things change, but there is still no provisions and procedures applied to them. They'll still get their qualification to be awarded the degree and qualify to sit in the board exam. So it was a very uh, tricky scenario wherein some schools could not answer the EMSA auditors, so it became a grievance. What I was telling you earlier, that the accomplishments of TRBs are was next to so impossible, was one TRB was determined that the collision regulations were completed in all scenarios in 2 days. This caught the attention of the EMSA auditor, because you cannot have for all conditions, okay, in 2 days only. And he was referring to the scenarios of collision regulations when there's heavy traffic, reduced visibility, uh, fairway traffic, and all those conditions that you have to apply certain code reg. And when the auditor looked at one of the record books, they were surprised to see that all of these were done in just 2 days. So, to those who are sailing, that's next to impossible. But then again, that was an audit finding, so we have to live with that. The last grievance for the onboard training was grievance 21, wherein it was similar to the previous grievances, except this one pointed on students who were serving on board ships engaged in domestic trade. So the local cadets who boarded Philippine registered flags, there was absolutely no measure in place, because the truth of the matter is there were some shipping companies that hired as much as 30 uh, cadets and then placed them on board one ship. So there's a problem with the safety aspect of that. How many life jackets will you be needing now? What is the life saving equipment? Okay, what are the assignments? So it was found out later that they were doing positions of support level at that time, which was to this day a no. Okay, cadets are there to be able to practice what they have learned in the educational institution and be able to simulate or to practice hands-on certain topics and courses that are of the operational level. So that is the biggest challenge now of the domestic cadets when they board their ships. And now, proceeding to our last two grievances under certification process. It's grievance 22 and 23, which are the same, basically with slight variations. Is that the EMSA noted that Flag State Marina was issuing certificates of proficiency not to the same standard as recommended in the STCW Convention and Code. There is a format there in Section A that all must be followed. And because of that, there were some limitation absences wherein the limitation box was not filled up. Okay, and these are one of the things that were noted. And also, when they tried to use the information system called MISMO, the certificates, while they appeared, had no provisions for adding their limitations. So that uh, encompasses the entire inspection audit done by Marina. You have 23 grievances. Okay, that's quite a lot. And up, up on the grievances, you had the shortcomings, and the lowest is the specific findings, which are very, very critical. So that constitutes their inspection results. Of course, they were doing the notions of an audit, and they did a closeout meeting, and they left copies, and then it was Marina's turn to reply to that. And so ended the audit process of EMSA. Now it's up to the European Commission to give the final vetting inspection report, which they already did. So, to recap this long conversation, let's review first what the EMSA audit came out with. They identified six key areas, nine shortcomings, 23 grievances, and three specific findings. Well, that is quite a lot for an audit. I'm not saying that you can perfect that, but the number 23, that's, well, in other organizations, that's just one too many. Okay, it will make you ask the question, what were we doing? How come EMSA spotted these audit findings that we did not? Well, let me explain it in a more uh, quality like manner. So, hear me out in my take. Another item is the processes or the process still being developed at the time of audit. What does this mean? It means that basically the procedures, the processes or the procedures, course packages, pilot testing, uh, it was not done at once. So what happened was they got caught up with the audit and they used that as a response. The next pattern of responses is always, for sure, a release of new circulars as responses. For every grievance that were found or findings, they release new circulars. Okay, and finally, they also sponsor again training for personnel, capacity building, root cause, all these things. Well, while it is good said and done, there is this mistiming that happens. This all should be done prior to the external audit. And that's what I'm trying to drive at. And our response has always been reactive. Okay? So, as well, it doesn't sound too nice to hear, but it is what it is. Okay? The question I would like to pose to everybody is, why is it that we apparently wait for the external audit results before we start the improvements? It's as if we're just waiting for them to come so that we will find out what is wrong in the system. Okay? Well, then you can argue, of course not. They found it. Yeah, but 23? I mean, they could find it. There's never a perfect audit, but 23. That's indicative of a reactive system of doing the quality system. Okay, the best and still proven to be the best is always being proactive. Okay, as with any company or any entity that uses a quality system, okay, you have a mechanism in place, okay, to measure compliance and performance, and this is called the internal audit. Okay, and this should be done always before the external audit comes, whether the external audit be EMSA, class society, third party, charter hire. You always do preparation, okay, and you have to be very proactive. The thing there is to be able to correct some items that were deemed to be conformance, non-conformity, okay, and you can do that by having yourselves internally audited. So there, I could see that that alone is such a big issue there. Okay, so my take is changes to the way we work to keep our STCW updated all the time should be that we cannot keep on changing the curriculum for the bachelor's program. Mind you, the initial release of these memorandum circular way back in 2014, wherein the newly founded STCW office came about in releasing OLC and MLC, which are operational level and management level courses, came out. Why? Because the old curriculum was not in conformance with STCW. So there was a lot of transition. Okay? Fast forward today, you hardly see, it's gone, the officer level updating. But why is the management level still there? And why do we have to require them to take it after we issued them a bachelor's degree? Isn't that supposed to be included? Another question posed is why confer bachelor's degree and then yet the student has to take again a series of proficiency courses? Isn't that supposed to be included in the curriculum? Why isn't it? Okay. Sooner or later, that will also be found by the EMSA. Okay. Well, I know that our system is quite different, wherein we require bachelor of science degree before you can be issued a state-sponsored certificate. That I understand. But if you look at our close neighbors in the region, everything is given up front. Okay? And their year as cadetship is monitored fully. Okay? So that in their record books are operational and management level assessment questions. So when they come back, they can sit their exam for operational level and as a function of time, wait 24 months to 36 months using your operational uh, certificate of competency before you can sit for the next level, which is management, without going to MLC. If we're going to solve this issue about our performance in the audit, we cannot be using the same methods of solving the problem, the same paradigm, the same curriculum wherein the subjects are supposedly taught, but once the student is released, a multitude of proficiency training must be acquired. Okay, if we continue to address issues with the same patterns of solving it and hope this time that the outcome will be different, it's not going to happen. We are so wrong in that particular thinking. And then we're back again to where we began. So if we're going to change the curriculum, it must be radical. It must be not only the subjects in the section A of our STCW code, even the application and the methodology that includes also tenure. It's quite difficult but not impossible. I've seen a very good sample now that's being developed because the others that were being developed, they still do external training after the student has completed their bachelor's degree. They still have to take MLC. So it will all rest on all of us, not just Marina. It's a stakeholder and flag state thing. We're all in this together. Now, if we just continually blame others for the faults and failures and do not accredit people or assign people that are competent, this EMSA thing will not go away. It'll even get worse. And remember, that is my take. Well, well, well. Thus ends the three-part saga of our EMSA topic, wherein EMSA the auditor, Marina the auditee, back and forth changes. Okay, I hope you found this series of EMSA talks useful and very helpful in clearing up all the clutter of noise, okay, that you've been hearing left and right. I hope it gave you a better insight on the going ons of this audit. And like always, please don't forget to like and subscribe and check out the description box where most of the publications are available now. Even the EMSA response is a public document, so it's available in the Marina website. So if you have the time, give it a read because it's better to be in the know personally than to hear it from others. So with that, I say thank you once more, and until the next video, take care, stay safe, and goodbye.